Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Let's give it about one more minute and then we'll get started. Okay, to be mindful of everyone's time, we're going to get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for this informational session regarding the scholarship programs that College Success Foundation manages year-round. My name is Carrie Moss. I'm a program officer here in the Scholarship Services and Financial Aid Education Department. And then we're also joined by our director, Maria Rebecki, of Scholarship Services and Financial Aid Education. And to be mindful of everyone's time, we're just going to jump right in. First, we're going to take a look at our agenda. We're going to start off with some important dates and provide you with a general checklist of our scholarship applications because many of the components are pretty similar. And then we'll take a deep dive into the programs that we manage. And then we will share with you some short answer prompts and tips to share with students. And then we'll also discuss some available resources for you and students. And then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. However, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and then we'll answer them at the end. Okay, so some important deadlines that we wanted to go over. As you can see, we have them bulleted, but I'm just going to go a little bit more in depth. First, the important deadline that you'll see, or opening date that you'll see, is that all scholarships open on December 1st as to not compete with FAFSA's opening date that launched in October. And then students will have a 2-month window to submit their applications. So the application deadline is January 30th. And then every student does need a letter of recommendation with their application. So they'll have an additional week to submit that letter of recommendation, both the student and the recommender. So those supplemental documents are due February 6th. And we're going to go into depth a little bit later as far as what all of the supplemental documents are for each application. A friendly reminder that if a student does not have their recommender listed on their scholarship application by January 30th, it's deemed incomplete. So if you happen to be working with a student and they haven't put in a recommender in their application by January 30th, please help to encourage them to find someone, or maybe you can be that recommender and they can list you. We will go into further detail again about everything, but the last item that I want to state is that all applications after being reviewed, we are going to send an award notification if they're selected by April 15th. All right, thanks, Maria. So the general checklist. Each scholarship is comprised of an online application, and then they do need to submit a high school transcript that includes their fall 2025 grades, and it has to have their cumulative GPA. If for some reason their fall 25 grades are not posted by the time that the scholarship application closes, they can email us, they can reach out to us and let us know, and we'll still accept their application, and then they'll just email us their updated transcript, and we'll plug that in to their scholarship application for them. Or maybe they are really close to meeting the GPA criteria and they know that once grades are posted, it'll bump them into being in the eligible criteria for a scholarship program. They can reach out to us, and then once their grades are posted, send us their transcript, their updated transcript, and then we'll plug it into their scholarship application. Um, and then again, applicants do need to have a letter of recommendation submitted on their behalf, and that is due by February 6th. And then for governor students, so those are students who are in foster care, former foster youth or current foster youth, they would need to submit dependency court order documentation in addition to their unofficial transcript and their letter of recommendation. So in our next slide, it's just to reiterate the scholarship programs that we're going to go over. it's going to be the Governor's Scholarship for Foster Youth, the MLK Scholarship, BECU, Costco Employee Scholarship. This is if you have any students who are 18 and older who happen to be working at Costco. And then the Leadership 1000 Scholarship. Alrighty. So first we're going to go into Govs. Um, the Governor's Scholarship is a program that supports students who are either current or former foster youth or foster care. We are working towards helping them continue their educational goals and earn a college degree. The program has been supported by several Washington state governors, including former Governor Gary Locke and Chris Gregoire, as well as Jay Inslee. The funds in order to support the youth comes from the governor's golf tournament, and that helps to support about 30 to 40 scholars per year. In addition to the scholarship, they also receive staff support and networking opportunities with CSF alumni and scholarship donors. The scholarship amount ranges depending on the type of institution that they go to. If they're at a community college, it would be about $2,000 a year. If they're at a public four-year institution, that would be $3,000. And if they're at a private four-year institution, it would be $4,000 a year. And it is renewable, and they can receive up to 5 years of funding at a maximum of $20,000. In order to be eligible, you will see on the right-hand side of the screen that a student will need to receive their GED or high school diploma by June of 2026. They need to have a cumulative GPA of 2.0 or higher. They need to plan to enroll at an eligible Washington State college, and we do have a list of colleges on our website. They would also need to be a Washington State resident, apply for FAFSA or WASFA, and then either be placed in Washington State, either be placed by a Washington State court order in any of the following living situations. So foster care, guardianship, dependency, guardianship, placed in federally recognized care, or placed under dependency tribal court outside of their home. In the next slide, we'll go over MLK. So the Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship was created by the Mount Baker Foundation 36 years ago as a neighborhood effort to honor the work and dreams of Dr. King, and typically have about 12 new scholars each year. Scholarships are awarded to students that go to or live in the Mount Baker community. So that means that they would live in a specific zip code or go to school in a specific zip code, and that's listed on the screen. With this scholarship, students will receive CSF support through coaches, and they'll receive online support, in-person support as needed. And then for this scholarship, they can receive either $2,000 a year if they're attending a community college, or up to $4,000 a year if they're at a four-year university. And this is a max of $16,000, and it's a renewable scholarship for 4 years. In order to receive funding, students would need to have a minimum GPA of a 3.0. They would need to be a current high school senior, and they do need to file a FAFSA or a WASFA. And again, just make sure that if you are promoting this to a student, that they either live in the zip code on the screen or they attend school and within that zip code. The third scholarship that we'll go over is the BECU Foundation Scholarship. Each year, BECU awards about 69 students who demonstrate the principle of people helping people, and they are involved in their community. This is a 2-year scholarship. So the last couple of scholarships we mentioned were for 4 years or up to 5 years. This one is a 2-year scholarship. And students can receive $2,500 a year. The student that's applying, they do need to be a primary account holder or a joint account with their parents. And the GPA that they need to have is a 2.5 or above. And this scholarship is open to current high school seniors or college students, so they don't have to be a high school senior to apply. Something that's different about this scholarship is that students do need to be enrolled full-time in order to receive funding. So that means if they plan on going to school part-time, this would not be the right fit for them. They have to be enrolled 12 credits or more. A great feature to this scholarship is that it does provide emergency funding for students. They can receive up to $3,000 per academic year or $1,500 per request. And then lastly, I just want to mention that if you guys have any questions about MLK, BEC, or governors, you can always reach out to me directly. We will give you our contact information at the end, but I'm going to hand it off to Maria to talk about our next scholarship.
Thank you, Carrie. So the next scholarship program is the Costco Employee Scholarship, and this program is open to any regular part-time or full-time employee in the U.S., and that meets the eligibility criteria. Applicants must be enrolled or planning to enroll, like with all of our scholarship programs, in what we call an accredited and not-for-profit institution anywhere in the United States. And the scholarship is available for up to $2,500 a year for up to actually, they just extended it. We got an email Friday afternoon. I forgot to update this slide, but it's available for up to 6 years for a maximum of $10,000 total. So knowing that in general, Costco employees tend to be a little bit older, returning adults, working with family responsibilities. They don't have sometimes the ability to attend full-time every term. So the program is aware of that and flexible enough so that students can use their funding for up to 6 years. They can take leave of absences in the middle of their program and then come back and continue to use their scholarship. So part of the eligibility criteria, in addition to being a Costco employee, is that they have a high school diploma or equivalent by June of 2026. And they can be current students or they can be college students for the first time at the time they apply. And they can be pursuing a certificate program, a 2-year degree or 4-year degree. The important piece for this scholarship in particular is that they do not have a prior bachelor's degree. So if they have already attained a bachelor's degree, they wouldn't qualify, let's say, to get a certificate, a new certificate. So that is the Costco employee scholarship. The next one and last one is the Leadership 1000 Scholarship, which is a scholarship that CSF has been offering for 22 years now. It's funded by the state of Washington and private donors, corporations, organizations that provide funding to provide approximately between 70 and 100 new students every year with a scholarship of up to $20,000. This scholarship is based on academic promise, personal drive, and financial need. Like the BCU, MLK, and Governor Scholarship, the L1000 Scholarship provides college coaching to students all throughout their academic journey. So, they have the financial support and the non-financial support. Also, the Leadership 1000 Scholarship offers an opportunity for students to really develop a meaningful connection with their donor, which many times can lead to, in some cases, additional funding, internship opportunities, job opportunities once they graduate. It's a great way for students to start developing their network. So it's really a very well-rounded program available to students. In terms of eligibility, the awards range between $1,000 and $5,000 annually for up to $20,000, and this depends on the student's financial need. It depends on available funds, and also, if student may have additional need, like, for example, in the case of students that go into STEM careers, they may have, they may be required to take a 5th year and they may need additional funds. So as long as funds are available, they can get that support from this program. looking a little bit more closely at the criteria, and I suspect that this is why many of you are joining us today, because the criteria has changed for this program once again. So students have to be a high school senior enrolled at a Washington State high school and on track to graduate next June. And you can see the list of schools published in our website, on our website, or be a college student that is already enrolled in a College Success Foundation, in College Success Foundation College Services. So all the students that have been engaged with CSF in the past and now are in college and maybe never applied to the scholarship or didn't receive the scholarship in the past also qualify to apply. They do have to plan to attend or be attending a Washington State eligible college or university. And again, eligible means that it has to be nonprofit and accredited institution in Washington State. Students have to be Washington State residents, and the reason behind it is the same one as why we require that they file a FAFSA or WASFA, and that is that our scholarship cannot possibly cover all their college expenses. So we want them to maximize everything available by applying for FAFSA or WASFA so that they can be determine if they qualify for any other type of aid. And being a Washington State resident gives them access to Washington State funding. They have to have a minimum GPA of 2.5, and they do have to meet a certain family income, which you can find on the CSF website as well, where we list the number of household members and the maximum adjusted gross income for the family. And I think, sorry, I'm looking over my screen. And those are all the requirements for the Leadership 1000. Just to give you an idea of how the donor match happens with Leadership 1000 students, of course, all students have to be, meet that requirement, those requirements I just went over, but also we do the match depending on some of the donor criteria. And so in many cases, it's, students that are going into specific majors or that are graduating from specific high schools or attending specific colleges or universities or majoring in a particular field of study. These, expands every year, as we get new donors or donors that change their criteria. And then, of course, the majority of the scholarships just go to low-income students, many of those that are first-generation students. So this just to give you a general sense of what some of the donor criteria might be. So next, what we wanted to cover is, so that you can start working with your students now, is the 3 short answer questions that are required for Leadership 1000 students, but also for Governor Scholars and MLK, although MLK has a 4th short answer question, but this is the theme, right? These are the questions that students are going to be asked to answer. So we want to make sure that students, are really, thinking about what they've done to prepare or what they're doing to prepare. What are their goals? We don't ask any questions that are radically different from what they encounter in college applications. We want them to do a little bit of introspection and think about what are some of the strengths that are going to really help them through their college years, and what are some of the areas that they are aware that they will have to improve, or, that they will have to somehow work around, right? To make sure they don't become an obstacle for them to complete their college education. And then the last question is, we ask them to think about a challenge they face. We are not asking them to share personal, private, difficult life circumstances. That is not the purpose of this question. What we want to find out from them is what they learned from such a challenge, right? So what are the lessons? What was the growth from having experienced what they experienced? And in many cases, those difficult circumstances may have informed their future goals. So if that is the case, we want to hear about that. But as you're working with students, please make sure they understand that we are not asking them to really share deeply personal, circumstances. That is not the goal of the prompt. Carrie mentioned earlier that we have a whole lot of resources that we put together for students, and we'll show you where to find them on the CSF website. But very briefly, I want to mention that we have a scholarship guide for most of the scholarships we presented, so that you can already present these to students. What are the sections of each application that they can start thinking about how they're going to complete. The short answer questions that you see on the screen. And we put together two companion pieces to the short answer questions. One that offers a couple of prompts to help students start thinking of how to start writing the answers, and another one on how to effectively use AI for writing short answer questions. We know that we are all using ChatGPT in one way or another. We know that it's inevitable, but we want to make sure that students are not just using ChatGPT to get all their short answer questions written. So we have some tips of do's and don'ts. We do have some software that will run the essays and are going to flag, no, essays, sorry, short answer questions that are going to flag if they were potentially written by AI. So we want students to know that. So, we think that these are very good companion pieces to help students think and develop their short answer questions. Of course, we also encourage them to work with an adult that can read and provide feedback for their questions, right, for their answers. And we recommend they don't write these essays on the application itself. We know that, technology fails us on a daily basis, so encourage them to write it on Word, save it often, and then once it's complete, then copy paste it into the application. What do we have next? Okay, a couple more tips on those short answer questions. There's a minimum of 300 words for each question. We encourage students to read the whole prompt, the whole application before they start, answering them, and to use different examples in those 3 questions rather than repeating the same one, because this is really the only opportunity they have to, showcase and to make their case, if you want, with those reading and scoring applications of, who they are, what they've done, what they're hoping to achieve with their college degree. Yes, as I mentioned, we created some handouts that we're going to show you where to find. And then again, sharing their drafts with, an adult that can provide some feedback on their writing. We are not, the answers, as the slide mentions, is evaluated based on their ability to answer the prompt, explain their ideas, and give enough detail to show their point of view. We are not looking for grammatically perfect answers. We know that we are all in the process of learning the language, and many of us, for many of us, English is our second language. And on that topic, this year we are offering students to replace one of the short answer questions with a project that, or some sort of work they may have done that could be addressing or answering the prompt. So let me give you an example. You can choose to replace the third question, which was the thinking about a challenge, right? But maybe a spoken word video that you may have done or written, a piece of art you may have developed, a project that may have come up, that may have come out after, facing a challenge. And so students can upload the document, the link, the video, whatever it is, to replace, the actual writing a whole short answer question to that particular prompt. And we do ask them to tell us a little bit, how do they think that that project they're uploading actually addresses the prompt. So it doesn't have to be 300 words. We want to make sure that, we are understanding how they saw the connection. So this is one way that we are adopting this year to address the fact that maybe writing is not everybody's strength, and that students may have done other amazing things like, artistic, music, whatever it is, right? That can still tell us more about who they are and what they're, hoping to achieve during their college years. Let me see. Anything else, Carrie, that you want to add to the tips? No.
I'm excited to
Okay.
see what projects come in, and students, again, it's a choice. They don't have to choose to upload a video of themselves or an art piece. They get to choose whether they want to write 3 essays or if they want to do 1 project and then 2 essay questions.
Thank you, Carrie. So a quick rundown of how the process works. So students apply, deadline comes about. We do a review of eligibility and completion after February 6th. And then every March, we hold what we call a scoring event or read event. And let me do a plug right now. If you're interested in being a volunteer to read and score applications, or if you know of any colleagues that may be interested, please send us an email to, we're going to share our email address. Send us an email so that we can send you an invitation. Usually we do a training and provide you with sometimes some reading materials. And then we have a read day in which we train you on how to use our scoring tools. And then we assign you a few applications, and then you read them, you score them, and you are done. We always try to have 2 readers per application, to make sure that, we can account for any biases. So it's a great opportunity to read about students, and, to have an impact in the work that College Success Foundation does. So then, so after the reading event, we go through the awarding process. And so we use a combination of, the donor or the funder requirements with the score, but not only the score. We try to, look at the student as a whole. And then we send on April 15th, we'll send emails to students that were selected and those that were not selected. I will tell you that for some programs, funding comes in stages. So we may do a first round of awards by April 15th, but we always have more funding coming in later, and we'll do a second round. So those students that may be selected at a second, third, or even fourth round, we're going to let them know, at this point in the process, you have not been selected, but keep an eye on your email because you may be selected at a later time. And on the topic of emails, I want to emphasize, please, especially those of you that are in high schools, make sure that students are not using their high school email address, because once they leave your school, they will lose access to their email address. And it's very difficult to make the email address change on SurveyMonkey Apply, which is the platform we use, that students use to apply. So have them use a personal email address. The same for students that are in college. We recommend that you encourage them to use their personal email address. So after we send the award notification letters, students will have 2 weeks to accept or decline their award. Then they will attend an orientation. And it's mandatory because we want to make sure students learn the ins and outs of their scholarship program. They get to meet their college coach and other students that are headed to the same campus. So we try to make those connections during orientation. And then this is way, way after orientation and everything. In mid-July, we'll send an email to the student confirming their school of attendance and the day that we're going to be sending their funding. And we also communicate with colleges and universities to let them know that this funding for this particular student is coming so that they're aware and they can prepare. And I think that's all in terms of after submission. After submission. So a few resources to mention, the CSF website, and we'll show you in a minute so that you can see, we have a scholarship section where you can get information about that particular program. There's going to be, starting December 1st, a button under each scholarship that will say apply here, click here to apply or something like that. Will take them to the SurveyMonkey Apply platform. And then we have also a section on financial aid that is being updated right now, but we have resources for students and their supporting adults, as well as practitioners on a variety of financial aid topics. This one I should have removed because it was last week. We had a training like this one for students. You can always refer students to us if they have any questions, and you're always welcome to reach out to us with any questions you may have. Oh, here it was, the reminder, the important reminders about the email address. Try to encourage students to save the scholarship services and the no reply email address to their contacts, because all of our communications are going to come out of one of those two email addresses. And one thing that I didn't mention is that you, as their guidance counselor or college coach, can be a collaborator on your student's application. So the student will have a chance once they log in to add collaborators so that you can go in, read, you can upload transcripts for them. Of course, not complete their applications, but you can do a variety of things without having to wait for the student to be sitting right next to you to give you access to their application. So as long as they invite you to be a collaborator, you can go in and look and upload documents. What else do I want to tell you? Yeah, SurveyMonkey Apply will send automatic reminders when there is inactivity on the application, or when the deadline is coming up, or when a new task has been added to their to-do list. So for example, you need to accept or decline your scholarship, or the process of inviting a recommender is the student has to pretty much put the recommender's name and email address, and the system is going to send an email to the recommender. So let's say that the recommender cannot, for whatever reason, write a letter of recommendation. The recommender can decline, right, the request. And so students are going to get an email saying your recommender has declined the request. And so at that point, students can add another recommender, right, to complete the application, complete the recommendation letter. I wanted to say something else there, but I think I forgot what it was. And then as a reminder, the application and the name and email address of the recommender have to be entered and complete by January 30th. What students can do between January 30th and February 6th is upload their transcript or any additional document, like for example, governors upload their dependency court order, and then recommenders have that extra week to complete a letter of recommendation. The reason why we have two deadlines, I know it can be confusing, but what history has showed us is that applications, between 75 and 80% of applications come in during the last week of the application cycle, leaving recommenders with almost no time to complete a recommendation. We also know that many times January 30th is cutting it close for schools to have transcripts with fall grades. So we want to give everybody an extra week to be able to complete these tasks. And of course, if your school, for whatever reason, like we have had in the past, inclement weather or whatever the reason is unable to provide transcripts by the deadline, we will extend it. We're not going to penalize students for that reason. I'm going to pause for a minute and breathe and let you ask any questions you may have for us. And you can type it in the chat. Let me see if there's anything here. I think you may be able to unmute yourself, I think. So feel free to just let us know what questions come up for you. Thank you, Carrie. I'm going to show you. Let me stop sharing for a minute, and I want to show you where to find those resources on our website. So this is College Success Foundation website. If you go here to our approach, you can see scholarships and then the financial aid hub I mentioned with resources for you. If you go to scholarships, you can go to any particular, program, read more. And when you go into application, you can find the application guide that looks something like this. With deadlines, a description of the program, the eligibility requirements. Here you also have the income threshold we discussed, and then all the different steps they're going to encounter on the application itself. Okay, so that they can get ready and prepared for it. And it includes the questions, the prompts that we mentioned. Going back there, need help getting started with your short answer questions. Here are the prompts we mentioned, right? So it describes a little bit more what each prompt asks and some started phrases so that hopefully can get the creative juices going so that they can start working on their short answer questions. And last but not least is the do's and don'ts of using AI to write applications and essays. And there are a couple more resources in case they want to read more or you want to read more about them, and where, what we use to compile this resource. One more resource I want to show you. If you go to the Financial Aid Hub, and you go into the applying for scholarship sections, we have more resources over there. So CSF scholarship resources, we have a presentation in case you want to do oh no, sorry, it's not this one, I apologize. This is an application guide for using SurveyMonkey Apply in case students want to learn a little bit more. But what I wanted to show you, maybe it's the presentation itself, actually. Yes. Writing personal essays. If you want to do the presentation with your students, you can use the presentation we have put together. And it has a lot of really good ideas on how to think about themselves, how to position their applications, how to write their short answers, where to start looking for scholarships, right? The whole brainstorming session, the whole brainstorming process. Let me see, a couple of exercises maybe to, think about how to write essays. And let me see if we have one more. Yes, we have another one that also covers a little bit more about, how to go about finding scholarships. Here are some links that we vetted, some tips on how to prepare, how to think about, about oneself and what areas to maybe focus on or think a little bit more deep. So anyway, how to get organized. It has some really, good resources. We have some inspiration also. We have a video. The value of the application. We often hear students say, "Oh, that application requires too much of my time," and it's a $20,000 scholarship. So we want them to think of the return on investment, right? You can maybe spend 4 hours in an application that may yield a $20,000 scholarship. So that is like $5,000 of their $5,000 an hour for their work, or have to work over 2,000 hours at $15 an hour to save up $20,000. So that is a little math exercise that we throw in there. And then we have this video that is really inspirational to help students think about themselves and get inspired before they start writing their essays. So all these resources are available on our website and they're free to use. So feel free to explore what we have put together on our website. And again, Carrie and I are always available to you to answer any questions, to guide you and your students through the process. And now I'm really going to shut up and let you ask your questions.
As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and we can send it to you afterwards. If you are feeling a little shy and don't want to ask the question publicly, I've put our email address in the chat as well, but if we don't have any questions, maybe in 5 minutes we'll log off, but we'll stay on for the next couple minutes to answer any questions.
Yes.
And we will also give you a copy of the PowerPoint, yes.
Yes, Dawn, I'm going to put a copy. I'm going to put a link to the guide for you.
For those of you logging off, thank you for joining us.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. You have our email address. Feel free to reach us at any point. Use our resources. Give us any feedback you may have. And we wish you a wonderful week.